Hey everybody, it is December the 21st, and you know why you're here. So let's kick this off, right? And introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a PvP Padawan.
Hey guys, I'm Bigmoran. I play Wrestle Druid.
We try not to hold it against him. And hey, we're also here with Menemies. Omar, how you doing, man? Oh, and now I can't hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. There you are. Oh,
Right.
oh, jeez.
What's up, guys?
You're a warlock. You're not supposed to be that stealthy, man.
I mean, shit, you're right. Yeah, I'm here. I think I had it on push to talk on accident, so we're swapped. We're good to go.
Awesome stuff. Well, hey, welcome, both of you guys to our wonderful show. I hope our listeners are going to really enjoy what we have for everybody tonight. But I guess first and foremost, Omar, why don't you tell us, and we know you, but the listeners specifically, who you are and what you do on the internet, and I guess in the game of World of Warcraft that we love so much.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Menemies. I play Demonology Warlock. I've been not competing, but playing it competitively for like the past 4 years or so. I think this season marks like my third consecutive Glad title. Outside of WoW, I'm just a logistics broker, so nothing special. But yeah, I main Demonology. It's the only spec I've really played
Okay.
for Warlock ever since I kind of picked up the class. I've been playing WoW since probably 2004, 2005.
Wow.
And I just didn't start as Warlock. I was like 9 years old playing a Night Elf Hunter. But
Isn't that what everybody starts out with? I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I
most people
was a
start off as a hunter or like a druid.
Yeah, I actually started off as a dwarf hunter. Pablo
There you go.
Diablo is my name.
Pablo.
That's fierce.
That's badass. But
That's
yeah, I play
awesome.
Demo. It's you can find me on Twitch. I stream. I don't really have a schedule, but I stream when I can. It's just twitch.com or .tv/Menemies or Twitter. My handle is just Menemies_. I answer
I
any
saw that.
questions. I interact with people as much as possible. But yeah.
Awesome, man. So, and I thought you're sitting. You've gotten a couple Glad titles. You've obviously climbed up before that. You got some duelists in that too, if I'm not mistaken. So you've
Yeah.
been there. You've done it, right? Like you've.
Yeah,
pushed,
honestly, it was a struggle at first, to say the least. It's kind of like it's a tricky, uh, it's definitely a tricky spec to say the least. I don't know. It's not like
Mhm.
Destro or Affliction where you can just kind of cast, enjoy your time. If you get kicked on something, you're going on to the next. It's more so you're kind of relying on your pet a lot. And unlike the other two specs, your pet dies, you die, plain and simple. So I like it. I've always liked the theme of it. I like the play style. It's gone under like a lot of like tuning.
Mhm.
And they've definitely redesigned the entire spec, probably every expansion since WoD. So I don't know. It definitely has a lot of flavors, but it still revolves around that same theme. That's kind of what I
Yeah.
like about it. It's just demons. You're a master demonologist.
It's all about
Yeah.
the demons.
Right.
That's which I do appreciate, because it's at least that different flavor. It's not just different dots and more dots. It's got the demon side and everything they're doing there, and what they're doing for you, how you're commanding them.
Yeah.
Speaking of demons, I think you have an imp in your computer. I lost your camera.
Right.
Man.
Yeah, that's a good question. Here we go. I don't know why. It should work right now. There we go.
Hey,
Alright, we're
there
back.
he's back. All right, okay. Whew. Dang imps.
The vanish, the read stuff.
I like hit Control W and it completely just exits out of any tab, and I was like, ah, shit. I hope no one notices. But yeah, not really.
Oh my goodness, we're just full of technical stuff tonight. That's all good. Well,
Happens.
I guess we'll talk what we've been up to. Let's start with you first, there, Menemies. What have you been up to the last 2 weeks, man? What have you been doing in game or out?
Yeah, so I think I got my Glad like last week. So last
Nice.
week I got it. It was kind of like the one thing I was pushing for this season. The one thing I really care the most about. On top of that, I rated a cutting edge level, so when I
Cool.
can, I'll find a guild that I find home for the tier, and I'll see what I can do there as far as progression via rating. I don't know. I like every aspect of the game, so I don't just PvP. I raid, I do keys, the whole nine.
Nice.
But as far as the past 2 weeks, I've really just kind of been taking it easy. I've been playing alts with the alt systems kind of coming up to surface. It's just kind of been easy to really get an alt up and just geared and ready to go. And that's been kind of fun, considering we don't really get to play alts most of this expansion. Really, it wasn't really up until the last month or so that
Yeah.
you really got to dabble with alts.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of nice. BFA, I had like 3 warlocks season 4 that I would like play around with, and I just can't do that right now. So this is kind of a nice change of pace for me specifically,
Awesome.
especially since I've just been playing warlock, and so I get to dabble with shaman, mage, whatever it is.
So which class are you leveling up right now? What's your main alt you're focusing on
So
today?
I actually love healing. I love healing as much as I like playing warlock, really. So I have a resto druid, I have a holy priest, and I think holy pal would be next. But as far as DPS,
Yeah.
mage.
Oh yeah.
Mage for sure. So yeah, we'll go first and foremost resto druid. I don't know what it is, but that's my favorite healer, and so that's kind of like my primary ult right now. It's like honestly my second most geared too, and I think it's the one healing spec that I can enjoy every expansion, regardless of what tuning, what changes they do. Yeah, I have a blast on it.
And I'm not biased, but I agree. I completely agree.
There you go.
I could hear Big like just scratching it that way. He's like, I gotta comment. I gotta comment. I found a new friend. Another person likes Resto Druid. Yes.
Healer.
No,
Yes.
Resto Druid is really they're really powerful. Well, I say really powerful. They can do a lot of stuff. I think they shine a lot better in PvP than I think some people give credit for.
Oh yeah, they're the most versatile healer in my opinion.
Exactly.
I think I don't know.
Yeah.
They change the flow of every arena match. In twos, they're like definitely the most dominant healer, and that's kind of where I like playing it the most. But it's crazy how like they started off the expansion just not doing too hot, and now look at them. They're arguably the best healer
Yep.
in threes overall.
As they should be.
I
It's
agree.
how it should be. It's how
I
it's
love
always
the
should have
Resto Druid
been.
meta. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Big. Aside from being the most OP healer in twos, what have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
I haven't been playing that much WoW, but I did log on to the PTR the past 2 weeks to play the solo shuffle. Venruki and Absturge, I think, were kind of hosting that together, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed the game mode. It's really hectic, and it's just a blast, honestly. So I'm really excited for that to hit live servers. I did try to gear up my ult a little bit, and it is a warrior. It's an arms warrior, which it's like, of course, they're the best, probably arguably the best DPS in the game. But it's just so hard to gear like a warrior specifically, like through like LFG queuing, because they are really good, but I think you'd really need a lot of gear to do anything meaningful on a warrior. So I mean, maybe that's just every class, but with the changes to the systems being more alt friendly, it's kind of helped a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah,
You're not just buying a bunch of conquest boxes and sending them over to your alt?
I bought as many as I could. I just need to get more conquest on my
Need to buy more.
Yeah, but I only play twos, and so capping conquest takes a while. Like, it's not an easy task. I need to queue some RBGs or something.
Yeah. I think RBGs is definitely the easiest way to maximize currency.
Yes.
It's definitely the easiest way.
Conquest per minute, there's nothing that compares to RBGs. No. But Gerissar, what have you been doing the past 2 weeks?
Great question. Well, so I've been, like I've told everybody, I've been trying to play the auction house, trying to corner some ore on the market for my server. Was doing okay, and then I got a little greedy and got out of selenium and tried to move on to another ore. And I ended up running into. It looks like there's been a few bot farmers that showed up, or somebody that has multi-botting or whatever, because I'm now being faced with people that are undercutting me with tens of thousands of ore every time. So it's a little rough, not gonna lie. And they're like undercutting by gold, not by just copper and silver. So it's it's getting a little rough, not gonna lie. So I just kind of sat back for a bit, gonna reevaluate what my position is on the auction house there. Otherwise, last week I had a great time. I ended up so I was doing skirms, trying to do the 10 wins and the weekly for earning so much honor in skirms. And I was just solo queuing, so it was really painful because when you solo queue as a disc priest, you end up getting put into threes all the time. And that was, I think I won 2 out of, oh geez, I don't know how many losses that was, and I capped out on the weekly for the amount of honor, which was actually, it wasn't that long because it was also the BG week, so the honor, the arena week, so the honor game was pretty good. And then on there, I actually ran it. There was a warrior that was like, "Oh yeah, totally, give me tips," and like talking about where mentioned go to RBGs if I really wanted a currency farm and everything. I was like, "Yeah." I'm an adult. They don't know who I am. This is kind of fun.
Right.
So it was kind of cool there. And then I ended up going over to the Oasis Discord and met up with a person over there, Vapin, and met up with that person. And we ended up doing some twos for a bit. They got on a lobby alt, and we ended up just doing some arena twos. And I got my 10 wins there. Well, actually, 8 there. And then we got they only had they had 0, so we had to get them all the way to 10. So that was just a really fun night, and just did that. So, and other than that, I ran for the Legion time walking, ran all the time walking dungeons to get that sweet 226 PvP gear on my tank. So I think my tank is almost 220, 225 all the way across. So
Nice.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I was really busy, so all I had a chance to do was really the time walking, and then it was reset day, and I realized I lost my my mythic key. So now I have to start from mythic zeros again, and pump a key. But I'll be fine. Christmas is just around the corner. Maybe
take some time off.
Yeah,
take some time off.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm taking time off. Don't you worry about that.
Very nice.
I think that's enough about us. Why don't we roll into the Need, Greed, and Pass and play that fun little game along with Omar and the listeners.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
Indeed. All right, so Need, Greed, and Pass. Listeners, right now in chat, by all means play along. You listening at home or in the car, after live recording, by all means, go to the Discord and write in your answers on today's Need, Greed, and Pass. I'm going to present a scenario with 3 options, and everybody, well, you get to pick which one you're going to need on, which one you'll greed on, and which one you'll pass on. So let's see how this goes. So as we know, we're talking about warlocks, so I decided to do a warlock one today, and we know Blizzard's they've been playing around with warlocks, with the demons a little bit, right? We have a new succubus coming out. It's on the PTR and that, and a few other things going on. So I was thinking, what if so demonology locks, you're most notorious for summoning a whole bunch of imps, right? Literally, you end up gather an army of your own imps to help attack and do things. So I was thinking, what if there was, I don't know, Blizzard decided, imps are getting a little tiresome. Why don't we start summoning another demon? So here's the options. So based off of the demons you normally have, right? So you have the Fell Hunter, right? But in this time they're gonna be smaller, so they're gonna be Fell Puppies, right? Or you're gonna have baby Voidwalkers, so little baby little Voidwalkers, and of course everybody likes Infernals. So I thought some baby Infernals, almost like the little battle pet version you can get there. All right. So the options are, again, if like I said, so Blizzard has decided that they're going to implement some new demons to be summoned by the Demolocks as their little army of terror. So which ones would you prefer to have as a replacement? Fell puppies, little voidwalkers, or baby infernals? I'm gonna hit Omar first. I'm gonna put you right on the spot here, bud. What would you do if you couldn't summon imps? What would you be summoning?
I mean, I'll take the fell puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I think Infernals just don't really revolve around that theme. Maybe that was once a Legion thing, but yeah, fell puppies for sure. Why not?
All right. So that's the one you need on. Which one would you greed on then? Between the Infernals and the Voidwalkers.
Probably Infernals still, just because they look cooler. Yeah, probably.
All right. Okay. Good. I like it. So pass on the little blueberries.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. It really was never my favorite pet or demon, honestly.
Really?
Like even leveling, it just was. I don't know what it is, but when Classic came out, when it was re-released, I refused to level with a Voidwalker. Obviously, it was the best way to do it. You would get the Voidwalker, you juggle like 3 mobs at a time. I leveled like with a Succubus. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
More damage. I don't know.
Just flat out aggression.
I like it. Gerissar, I was hoping you would have an army of Succubus. You know, not for any I don't know, narcissistic reasons, but I think that'd be interesting. I was gonna say, like, I always get intimidated in Arena, like any expansion. If you queue into a Warlock and they have a Succubus out, it's terrifying. I don't know why. It's just you're always paranoid that you're gonna get seduced, and you're just not gonna have any way to deal with it. So if that was an option, I would have needed that one 100%. But since it's not an option, I think I'm gonna need the Voidwalkers actually, because I always liked the aesthetic of the curator room in Karazhan, where there's all those like, I don't know, light purplish Voidwalkers, and they like split into smaller ones, and like I always thought that was really cool. So I'm gonna need on the Voidwalkers, and then I think I'm gonna greed on the Fell Puppies.
Okay.
Because I think that would be kind of cool. Fell Hunters look really insane. Like if you've ever zoomed in and actually like inspect them, they're pretty gnarly looking. And then I think Infernals are kind of like boring. Yeah. So I'm gonna pass on the. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I'm gonna need on the Infernals, just because the Infernals always had that immolation aura around them, so they're always farting fire. So I'm just imagining like 5 or 6 Infernals nipping at somebody's feet and farting fire right on them and burning them up. So I was thinking that, and also just thinking like what that would look like, the little baby meteors falling down, and then out would come an Infernal. And then I was gonna greed on the Voidwalkers. I've always been partial to my Blueberry. He's saved me multiple times throughout the years. And I always prided myself on being able to have an instacast of a Voidwalker whenever the tank went down to like save the group in the dungeon or whatever. So, I never did the sack though. I never really sacrificed him. But actually, that makes an interesting point. If you have a bunch of baby Voidwalkers, what would that sack look like if you could consume them and turn them into a shield? And then I was gonna, pardon me.
Or shield, just a bunch of charges.
Exactly. Have like the but instead of the little meteors flying around you, they're like little blue balls flying around you.
Just blueberries.
Just a bunch of blueberries.
I just realized something. Do Voidwalkers even do anything in PvP? Like I know they used to disarm, but they don't do that anymore. Or do they? I don't even know.
They have an AoE. They have like an AoE that like it's like a swipe. So I don't know. Right? It's not this expansion. Yeah, it's not this expansion necessarily, but like, I forgot which one it was. Like, you would literally use it to get rogues out of stealth, which is cool. But like,
I was gonna say,
you just couldn't be bothered summoning a Voidwalker in the middle.
Yeah, I can't
match. Yeah.
I can't think of the last time like they've been useful, like in PvP.
They're also good for pet management because they taunt, so you can use them to taunt and keep a stealthy out of so they can't re-stealth, or pull a hunter pet in that too, right?
That is true.
So, nice. Wow, here we are going already into the in-depth analysis.
Yeah,
literally.
I love it. Well, and then obviously I'd have to pass on the fell puppies. I love fell puppies. I love the fell hunters, but something has to be passed on, so that's that. But again, if people want to, they can comment in the chat or over on our Discord. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at the upcoming WoW PvP events and see what's going to happen next.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
I really need to get better at doing the transitions while talking. I find I'm still struggling with that. Anyway, upcoming WoW PvP events. Dalaran Gaming consistently hosting his 5v5 1v1 duels. And I think, so last episode I had mentioned how Oasis was doing tournaments, and then also Greystone was doing tournaments over at the WoW PvP community. Slight change up. So Greystone actually wanted to participate in the last Oasis 2v2 DPS tournament, so postponed his own tournament until January the 8th. Yeah, he was that adamant about doing it.
That's a dedicated competitor, you know.
Yeah, indeed. I have to admit though, he has a bunch of stuff going on. I don't have the graphics for it, but he's doing a tournament, he's doing a transmog contest. There's a whole bunch of other fun stuff. It's like this big community building thing he's got going on, so it's really cool. But time frame wise, so Oasis is doing an end of year tournament. This is going to be the last one of the year. It's on the 29th of December, and it's an all specs allowed 2v2. So it's a Wednesday right after Christmas. So if you want, head on over to the Oasis Discord. Really simple. It's Oasis WoW over at Discord. And you can see all the information there. I think it starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific that day. But yeah, should be a fun go. Like I said, so the last one was DPS only. You had to have a certain eye level, and they wouldn't allow any healers or anything. But this is all spec, so I think we're going to start seeing some. Maybe we'll see some Brewmaster tanks, or we'll see see some prop pallies. We'll definitely see some healers. Maybe probably.
Congratulations to the Survival Hunter Resto Druid team that wins this tournament.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Disc Priest and Demon Warlock would have a pretty good go. I think, would it?
I don't know. Right now, it's like mostly like Survival Hunters are arguably the best. It's like Survival Hunters, Sub Rogue, Holy Priest is really good. Warrior, Healer, good.
Yeah, Warrior, anything.
So unfortunately, Casters kind of got the short end of the stick in Shadowlands. So
it's definitely a melee meta, that's for sure. Can't argue that.
Well, as Holinka said, things gotta die.
And there we go.
Oh, they are.
Unfortunately, he was talking about warlocks. You know, he's like, they gotta die.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, if you have a player or two that you want to throw into this, like I said, head on over there. They have a form. Pretty sure, I think if I read it correctly, it's a solo queue, just like they did before. So it doesn't matter what your experience is. They'll match up high experience with low experience, try to balance things out. So yeah. So if you want to play, head on over to the Oasis Discord, sign up. They have a form there. They figure out the team. You find out who you're playing with, and then it ends up just being a big old free-for-all. It's pretty fun. On that, they said, so the Greystones tournament has been pushed to January the 8th, and that is a 3v3 tournament. And again, they have a link to a Discord. It's going to be in the show notes, and you can head over there and find out more information. Other than that, that's all I know about events that are happening right now that's been announced. So I suspect we'll probably see something in the next couple weeks, definitely into January, because I'm expecting we're going to start seeing a New Year spin up where different organizations are going to be definitely announcing some tournaments and trying to get in something in that new year. On that, though, let's go back to the subject analysis and actually start scratching into Omar's brain and find out what makes Demon Warlocks so gosh darn fun.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
I like it because, like I said, it's different from the other two specs. It's the other two specs. I'm not saying they're not reliant on their pets. Obviously, every Warlock spec is reliant on its demon. Like, that's the whole point of the class. It's the class fantasy. But this one just kind of revolves around. It's the whole core Master Demonologist thing. I always thought that was cool ever since I just like rerolled the class. But regardless of what like flavor, what like design of demonology you play, whether it's bolt oriented, whether it's tyrant oriented, and I'll get into all that in a second. It's fun. It's one of those rewarding specs.
Okay.
Once you get your rotation, you execute it, you get the kill. Yeah, it feels good. So I don't know what it is. It feels good than getting 2 chaos bolts off and killing someone. I'll tell you that. So,
but it's all this. It's all the lead up to those 2 chaos bolts. It's the waiting for your buffs to all line up, and then you can one shot somebody, right?
Yeah, I guess now, yes. Maybe like if you asked me two like seasons ago, I'd probably tell you no. You just lobbed 2 bolts. Like yeah, that was it. We all remember Corruption season. That was. I don't care what anyone says. Like that was a fun season. That was a fun season for me.
It was for Warlocks.
Yeah, I had like 97% haste baseline, and I just remember having like a 0.3 second chaos bolt. So
yeah, I didn't play BFA season 4. I think I quit it in season 2, but I remember I was watching tournaments, watching streams the whole time, and BFA season 4 just reminded me of like playing a game with cheat codes on, but like everyone had cheat codes on. Like haste values were insane. No one really died, though. It was just that was like the Wild West of PvP, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like nothing really made sense, and everything made sense at the same time. It was just pure chaos. But actually, speaking of Demonology Warlocks, it's one spec that has really like fundamentally changed dramatically every single like expansion. My memory only goes back as far as Miss Pandaria for PvP, but like you used to have the demon form that you'd hop into, and then I don't remember what the design was like in WoD, but then in Legion, right, it was all about implosion, right? You just get massacred by an army of imps, and now we're gonna be talking about Decimating Bolt, where it's kind of in some ways it's kind of the one-shot spec now. It's kind of surpassed Destro as sort of the quintessential, like, you could just get one tap. Well, I guess all the Warlock specs are one tap specs now that I think about it. With Death, if you play Deathbolt as Affliction. But yeah, remind me again, when did you start playing Demonology Warlock?
I played Warlock, so I rolled Warlock for the first time. So I went Warlock for Metamorphosis. That was kind of like the main thing. I saw that you could turn into Illidan, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, and so the concept kind of for me was just like the way I justified it is you're a master demonologist, you master the whole art and like form of that power to where you can become the demon. And I thought that was cool. And so that's why I went Warlock, and it was like the end of MOP. It was like WoD pre-patch. WoD, you can still be a demon. So I was happy, and then they took it away instantly. Like Legion comes in and they give us a skull that floats around. Granted, don't be wrong, I loved the Legion design. I think the Legion design was like one-shot potential, like year round, and I think if they brought that back, it would still be just as good. The whole idea of being able to move and generate shards as you go, and just kind of nuke a target with this 145-second cooldown, like damage profile that would just 100 to nothing them. I always thought that was cool, and that's always kind of been the concept of demonology for as far as I can remember, at least. It was always building up to a one shot. You never really. It was no consistent damage like Affliction was, where it was just rot, or Destro, where you had your immolates rolling, and every now and then you lobbed a bolt or two. This one was more so you really did no damage, and then you just did too much damage, and then it was back down. It was just like, I don't know. That the whole fundamental behind that really just kind of was interesting to me. So
Yeah, I think
I definitely saw it
Demo is
go
one
through a
of
bunch of
the
changes.
true it's one of the true ramp specs in WoW that really has like a really steep ramp it needs to climb, and then it just like, unleashes. Because right now, I mean that's kind of been the struggle though, I think, for Demonology Warlocks. This expansion is it's kind of a slower spec, isn't it? Like, so at the beginning of the game, a comp like Ret Warrior can just run in and basically wings off their mount and not really get punished for that. But you don't really have the ability to do that as Warlock, right? You can't just instantly go in and pop cooldowns. It kind of, you have to
That would be
take
so
time to.
cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
That would be
Yeah,
awesome if I could literally run in and just drop gate and then just jump on top of the enemy and just lob like 3 back-to-back bolts on him. Like that would be great. But
but
no, it's definitely is slow. It is a
uh-huh.
setup. Playing twos as a demo lock. Don't get me wrong, my favorite comp is with a Shadow Priest, but that's only because the Shadow Priest is like a healer. But mainly you
Yeah,
see a lot of demo locks play with a healer because it's
Mm-hmm.
set up. Everything is set up potential. And your profiles are all based off 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so to get that setup going, it's cast heavy and it's a solid 10 to 12 seconds, 10 to 15 depending on your haste to get it going. And once you get it going, it's borderline unhealable damage. That's for sure.
So
yeah.
I have to
I
ask,
was,
just with all, like you said, it's all it's all pet damage. How?
Used to be.
Okay, sorry. So
Uh,
I always remember it having you had to be like really good at pet management. Is it you no longer have to worry about pet management, or is it still a
No,
big
that's the
thing?
biggest thing. Yeah. Um, so Felguard is like not as tanky as it used to be. Felguard was tankier in BFA, and I
Yeah.
remember it was even a little tankier in Legion. Like it still died to cleaves,
Mm-hmm.
but you can definitely keep it up. Now it's more so. I mean, DHDK and then Warrior Rat, they could like accidentally kill my Felguard at like any moment. And everyone knows like Demo's like the one spec that has what is it, Soul Link. So
Yeah.
once my pet dies, yeah, I take 20% more damage. It's not a fun time. So you'll face teams that like will go for your pet at first. Like they won't even target you. They'll just go straight for the Felguard.
Of course.
And when you see them targeting your Felguard, you're like, this is gonna be the worst match ever. I'm gonna spend the whole time health funneling.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a lot of pet management and it's shifted. It started off like Shadowlands being um really tyrant oriented. You played big tyrant and you just focused on like summoning a big demon every minute and a half. Now it's not. Now it's just bolt oriented. So while you rely on your demons, you're actually doing the damage, which is
Okay.
kind of nice for a change. You get the best of both worlds. I mean,
Nice.
yeah.
All right. All
yeah.
right.
And actually, Menemies, do you mind explaining? Because you're saying Bolt, and I know what you're talking about. But could you explain the combo with Decimating Bolt and then getting the proc
Yeah.
and then sending with the Shard of Annihilation too? Can walk us through how that all works?
Yeah, well, I'll get it. Yeah, while we're at it, I mean, I can get into covenants really. So we started off the expansion. Season 1 was Night Fae, and Night Fae was great. So you had like, for instance, one soul bind was Naya, and every time you used
Mm-hmm.
like the covenant ability, you gained a lot of health and mastery. It was like 9% extra health and like just a few hundred mastery, and which was really good for Devo Warlock. That was amazing because your pets scaled off your health, and more mastery is more pet damage. So how does that go into like a big like demon like profile? Was in season 1 you would really siphon all your like imps, Fell Hunter, or Felguard, Dreadstalkers, which were like a different type of demon, and you'd summon their health, like siphon their health into a tyrant. The
Okay.
more demons you had out, the harder your tyrant hit. And so it was a blast. So you definitely did no damage outside of this cooldown. And then every minute and a half, once that minute and a half was up, you line it up. And if the stars line, you just kill someone in like less than 10 seconds. It was great. Now, I guess there's a new, the whole new meta is basically you need to kill someone faster. So
Mm-hmm.
waiting a minute and a half kind of isn't as good when people have their cooldowns up every like 45 seconds. So when the Shard of
Yeah.
Annihilation Legendary came out, it basically revamped the way you play Demo. And so what it does is you have Decimating Bolt, and then once you lob it at someone, you get 3 charges of Shard of Annihilation, which increase the damage, like the crit damage and the critical strike chance of your next 3 demon bolts by 100%. So, with that being
Holy.
said, with Demonology Warlock, you have a talent called Sacrificed Souls. For every demon you have out is an extra 4% damage to your demon bolt or shadow bolt, whatever works, which is huge. So with that legendary, playing Necrolord, the whole goal isn't now to like summon a bunch of like imps and dreadstalkers and using a Grimoire Felguard for a big tyrant. Now you just use your demons for big bolts. And so the setup, basically the way it goes is come into an arena, you would drop like 3 shards on Hand of Gul'dan to get 3 imps, and then like 2 shards for dreadstalkers. Once you have that, you summon your tyrant. One cool thing about your tyrant is it extends all your demons' durations by like 15 seconds. So that was really good to hold your demons out for just a little longer for you to get your decimating bolt out. So in this window, you're summoning as many imps as possible. Decimating bolt, and then you would just lob like 3 back-to-back bolts at someone and kill them. I think mine have hit for like as high as like 40k in an arena match.
Okay.
Per bolt, by the way. So like Demon Bolt can really hit hard if you set it up right. It's a little tedious to set up, but
I
yeah, it's
like
definitely
it.
rewarding.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. We all do. It's a little tankier, especially with Night Fae having that one downside is you have a lot of mobility. You have that soul shape, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, like we love it, but the Fleshcraft definitely it saves my ass more times than I can count.
We're Necrolord fans on this podcast. That's
There you go.
That's a given.
I don't know. I still have my affliction block as a Night Fae, just because.
Hey, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's totally
I mean,
fine.
that works. That definitely works if you're affliction. Although I did in season 1 play, and this is because I was a maniac in season 1. I went all 4 covenants before they made it easy to swap between them all. Like I swapped through all 4.
You are a maniac.
That's a nice way of saying you're a psychopath. You know, like
Yeah. At one point, I was raiding and I got an achievement in the middle of raid for all 4 covenants, and everyone just looked at me like, "Did you really go all 4, you psycho?" And I was like, "Okay, don't look at me." But I was playing Necrolord Affliction, and this was after they nerfed like the Drain Soul like thing where you got like 3 charges at a decimating bolt. It wasn't fun because you had no mobility, but it was nice being a tanky Aflock in like 3s. I mean, it had its benefits, don't get me wrong, and it still does now. And I won't get into any detail or anything, but I can definitely see Necrolord being amazing for all specs, even in raid settings, like next tier, like really, like better than Night Fae.
So, all right, so I have, like I said, I have a Warlock. He's Affliction. He's like 190 something. Basically, got him to Covenant, level 60 Covenant, and then just kind of shelved him. I haven't really done anything with him. So, what would it take if I switch over to Demo right now? What would it take for me to be able to do everything you just said? To be able to get the, because I need to go raiding. I need to get a shard, right? I need to gear up enough, and I have to get the legendary in order to line all that stuff up.
So that you can do all that in a day. So the Shard of Annihilation is actually the Necrolord legendary. It's your Covenant legendary. So come like 9.2, yeah. The cool thing is if you're playing a Necro Demo, you're gonna be able to wear that and like another legendary. So I've already been theory crafting so many ways that I'm gonna one-shot people, and it's gonna be great.
All right.
But to stay on topic is that once you hit 48 in your Covenant, you get that legendary, just like you would any other Covenant legendary. That's all you need. After that, you go and craft it.
Yep.
You have all the talents, but it all depends on whether you have gear or not. If you have the gear, you can lob bolts as big as anyone else. Especially with gearing not being too like difficult right now. Maybe the item level, getting duelist, getting like elite or whatever it is, that item level definitely makes a difference. But I mean,
and farming the honor in order to up rank
the
it.
honor. Yes. Speaking of, have y'all tried the like farming honor after they increased the honor, like gained? I think it was like 40%, right?
Skirms seem pretty decent actually for that. If you can manage to win skirmishes consistently, because they tend to be pretty quick. But I haven't. I wish there was more math I wish people just did the nerdy math and figured out like what the best way to actually farm honor is and just posted it for everyone to see. Because,
Right.
but just from my brief experimentation, it seemed like skirmishes were okay for that.
I think scrims are okay. I think like it's a 40% flat gain across the board, so I think RBGs is still the best way. But I think it was I saw it first on Twitter through Lika, who made mention that in the BGs, if you die, the buff fell off. You didn't get it again until you came back into another BG.
Really? So it was bugged out for a little.
Yeah, I don't know if they fixed it. So it was. I know bug submissions were done, and tweets at the Warcraft devs and all that stuff, but I haven't seen anything about it being fixed. That said, it may have been, and I just missed it because I've been pretty busy IRL. But yeah. But yeah, I think being a flat gain across the board, it just makes sense that the most lucrative way to earn currency, which was RBGs, is still RBGs or BGs, right?
Although rated battlegrounds have their place, that first win is enormous.
Oh yeah.
I think if it's BG week, the first win's like 1250 to 1500 honor.
Yeah.
Which is huge. After that, it's downhill. It's really not that much, but just go in for that first one and then just leave.
No, I do at least. I go in for one and then I just get caught in the cycle because it's just so much fun. Occasionally you end up with like you can say, oh, that's a threes team. You can see them all running in a pack of three. You can see it,
right?
But that's about it. So
if they queue together, if you like run into like a rated battle group that like or battleground team that like queues together, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Yeah,
I think that was the one thing that like turned me away from rated battlegrounds in general. They took too long, and I just got my ass handed to me way too many times.
That's life.
Yeah, that's fair.
So just on that, I gotta plug it again, buddy. You head over to the Oasis Discord. You might find a new love for it. There's some great people over there, and they're they have some wonderful team leads there, and it's not just about damage. It's all about the strategy, and they have some wonderful strategies. But
good people.
Pardon me?
And some good people.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I hear there's some great people. The community's great for sure. I might have to check it out, honestly, especially when I'm gearing alts. Definitely gonna need that honor. So,
yeah,
we'll give it a shot.
Sure. All right. Speaking of giving it a shot, see what I did there? Let's, well, here. So, I think just for what you bring to the table for support, then in an arena or a rated BG. So obviously you're a warlock, so you're gonna have the fear, right? You're gonna have the howl or the coil, depending on the talents, right?
Yeah, for sure. You mainly go coil.
Okay.
For like an abundance of reasons, but yes, it's utility. You use it offensively and you use it defensively. It obviously has a self heal, which is huge, especially against comps like RMP, Rat Warrior, where you like, let's say the rogue drops a smoke bomb on you, your port's down, you have like no other defensive. It definitely helps. A little bit of healing gets the rogue off you, gives you time to get out of a smoke bomb. Yeah, so it's definitely huge. That row is helpful.
Nice. I mental note that one. Shadow Fury for the stun, right? Obviously you have the gateway, so you're helping yourself get out as well as your friends. Banish, which you can use on elementals, so you can make Dwayne go sit it in the corner for a while. Works great for other pets, right? Did I miss any? Is there any other tricks in the bag there that you pull out in the middle of to help out your team or to do control?
I have Hellstones. That's about it. That's
of course.
I don't know
Lock
if you
rocks.
mentioned that already, but Lock Rocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are kind of the main ones. There isn't really. It's pretty one-dimensional as far as what talents you go, regardless of the comp, especially depending on the spec you play. Maybe Destro Warlocks can run Howl if they don't run Coil, but the double Coil is like too important. Afflocks you run Howl because of obviously just the advantages you have with it, especially when you port, you fear the team, everyone's dotted, somebody's about to get death bolted. So that's fun. But Warlock, since your setup is pretty, like, people can see your setup from a mile away,
Mm.
and you have to line it up properly and sew everything together. So you coil into a pet stun every time you want to do damage. That way you can like minimize your, enemy's like chance of like getting away, popping a defensive, whatever it may be. And so they're one dimensional, but they definitely, they're solidified. They
Mm.
work.
All right. Well, I kind of should we go through the talents? Let's talk about them.
Yeah.
And okay.
Why not?
All right. Well, I'm kind of concerned they're all one dimensional. So now I'm like,
Well,
is it worth it?
That's just for the no, not the whole thing, just the
Okay.
utility. So the cool thing about Necrolord is you have 2 different types of builds, and I'm gonna go ahead and give an early shout out to Epic Burn, who's kind of he taught me how to play the spec, to be honest.
Yeah.
So he's the guy. He's definitely the mentor for the spec and who I went to for most of like any advice I needed on how I would set up, kill, live, whatever it is. But he, came up with 2 specs or 2 builds. You got the hybrid, and it's basically where as a demonology warlock, you're taking, instead of Dreadlash, which is what it does is basically when you summon your dogs, the first thing they do is bite into your enemy. It's called
Mhm.
just Dread Bite. And they apply a debuff. And we'll get into, what that debuff comes from. But it just, they increase like 20% increased shadow damage taken. What Dreadlash does is it like spreads it up to everyone. So it's instead of
Okay.
one target, it's anyone in 8 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good for play teams. But when you run the hybrid, you take Demonic Strength, and it's basically your Felguard's Fellstorm is the damage is increased by like 400% or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's huge cleave. I'm talking you can like tear through rogues and clothies pretty easily with just this talent alone. As far as like your second row, there is only one talent you can take, and it's Power Siphon.
Okay.
And so the reason you take it is this is like the only talent in this row that fuels your bolts and gives you on-demand demon bolt procs. So what it does is it sacrifices an imp or sacrifices 2 imps
Mhm.
and increases the damage of your next 2 demon bolts by 30%. So when you see those locks like pumping those big bolts,
Yeah.
it really comes from this talent, not just the Shard of Annihilation legendary. So
Okay.
moving on to the third talent row,
Okay, well,
Demon Skin was kind of the biggest thing.
Slow down. Whoa.
What's up?
So normally we like kind of run through a tier and kind of talk about each one, and then we kind of talk about it.
Sure.
But this is great. What you're doing is awesome. And I can totally see like, okay, so Dreadlash, that makes a lot of sense. Versus Demonic Strength. The other one being the Bile Scourge Bombers.
Bile Scourge Bombers, which you can play for fun. I did.
Yeah.
I actually did last
Sounds
week
cool.
for a few games. So it has its upsides and it has its downsides. Upsides being it is a lot of damage, I'll be honest. And if you play with a rogue, which is what I did. So the comp I played was Rogue Lock Pally. If my rogue like smoke bombs, I would like Bile Scourge Bombers on top of it. And it was just it's a bunch of damage. It's a bunch of cleave damage. The only thing is it costs 2 shards. And I don't know, it has a 30-second cooldown when most of the time you could just run Dreadlash. And the biggest benefit to Dreadlash versus any of the other two, versus the other 2 talent is, like I said, it spreads your Dread Bite and that debuff on everyone. So let's say I call a target and it's Rogue, and I, summon dogs. I'm about to like just dump some demon bolts into him and kill him. We have to swap targets. Like I said, it spreads the debuff, so you're able to swap targets with that target having the debuff for your bolts to do like maximum damage.
Okay.
I think that's what makes Dreadlash like the most favored talent per se.
It gives that
Demonic Strength is
rather
really good,
rather than
but
putting all the debuff on one. Now you have that option.
Exactly.
It's like yeah, okay.
Exactly. You're not locked into one target. You now have options. And this is really, really important for melee cleaves. Ret Warrior, kind of all you're going to queue into. Dreadlash is your like most opportune, most favorite talent.
Fair enough. And just for the second tier, I mean, Power Siphon sounds really obvious. Demonic Calling sounds. I mean, it sounds. You got your Dreadstalkers can cost less and cast instant, right?
Right.
Versus, I mean, Doom. Come on, that's like I remember Doom.
Doom is good if this was season 1 and we still played Night Fae.
Okay.
So the reason is Doom is obviously passive damage. It's passive shard gen. It's huge. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has its place. And I personally love the Doom talent. I loved it more when it was a dot. Anyone remembers like you played in like WAD? It was like corruption. And
Yeah.
it generated passive like demonic fury, which made you go into big demon. But right now it just doesn't have a place in like the Necrolord meta, which is the main covenant you're going to play as Warlock. You like if you want to be competitive, you want that high rating, like you just play Necrolord. It's just the most ideal situation.
Okay.
It doesn't give you the on-demand demon bolts like Power Siphon would, and those huge like really amplified bolts. So you just go with Power Siphon.
Fair. Okay. Big. Do you want to cover the next 2 tiers there with Omar?
Sure, yeah. For the level 30 tier, your choices are between Demon Skin, which is just passive health regeneration, Burning Rush, which allows you to have increased movement speed at the cost of HP, or Dark Pact, which you sacrifice some of your HP for a big shield. So which one are you typically choosing on that tier?
I go Dark Pact probably 10 out of 10 times. And the reason for it is it got massively buffed. So the bubble you get out of using Dark Pact is huge.
Yeah.
Granted, it all comes with it comes with this territory of it's how much health you currently have. So
Mm-hmm.
the smartest way you would use it is you would use it when your health is at its like higher end, and it
Yeah.
definitely minimizes really the team's go and chance of actually killing you. So Rogue Mage, this is heavily utilized. You can play Demon Skin if you want. I think it's great. I just don't think we're as tanky as we used to be. We're not BFA tanky, that's for
Yeah.
sure. So we can easily be torn through by warriors, rets, demon hunters, windwalkers.
Yeah,
Demon
you want
or Dark Pact is huge for that situation.
Mm-hmm. And then on the next tier, you have From the Shadows, which causes your Dreadbite to make the target take 20% additional Shadow Flame damage. And then you have Soul Strike, which you tell your Felguard to do a bunch of shadow damage to a target. And then you have Summon Vile Fiend, which you can summon another pet to fight for you for the next 15 seconds. So which one are you typically choosing on that tier?
From the Shadows, for sure. It got reworked with the 9.1 launch, so your Tyrant actually benefits from this. So it used to actually, the amplifier or the multiplier, whatever it is, didn't really affect Tyrant's damage. So now that it
Mm-hmm.
does, it's 20% additional Shadow Flame damage, which also affects your Demon Bolts. It affects the damage that comes from your Imps Fireballs, everything. That's the debuff that gets spread to everybody from Dreadlash.
Okay.
So
Synergy.
there you go.
All right. So if you take Dreadlash, you basically have to take From the Shadows. Or do you
Correct.
take it if you're running Demonic Strength, do you bother?
If I run Demonic Strength, I'm still going to take From the Shadows. From that level 35 talent row it's a staple.
It's a hard lock.
You definitely take it. Yeah, your Demon Bolts you want those juicy bolts, you got to take whatever amplifies them the most, and it's From the Shadows really does that.
Okay. All right. Well, what about this next? So I guess we already kind of talked about this. It's the Dark Fury versus Mortal Coil versus Hell of Terror. He said, I mean, Dark Fury, your Shadow Fury has a shorter cooldown and it's a bit bigger. Is that? I mean, do you care?
Good.
Is that like kind of a
good,
map specific? Like if you think you're really going to need it on a map, would you kind of look at that, or is it still coil?
I think maybe you can play it into Wizards, and maybe that would justify taking it.
Okay.
I just the way Coil works in conjunction with how Demonology works and how your setup and your go when you're about to do the most damage. Coil just it means like I don't know, it holds a lot more weight. So like I said, you always coil into an Axe Toss, which is your Felguard's stun. It's a 4-second stun. has a little bit of a cast time, but that's why you coil before you do that. So is your entire go together, minimizing any counterplay, any defensive use by the enemy. Has a good self heal if you really need to heal for yourself, which is huge. But coil is pretty much what I go with every game.
Okay. Ooh. Would you coil in? So you said when a rogue bombs. What about when a rogue shadowy duels you? Do you coil that?
Not kill the rogue. If you shadow duel me, I'm just gonna kill you. I'm pretty sure rogues are scared of demo locks. Like, obviously, good rogues, that's a different question. But a good lock, I don't know. If I'm healthy and I get shadowy dueled by a rogue, yeah, I'm just gonna kill him.
All right. All right. So what about the next one then? Since that was kind of a gimme. Second last tier, you got Soul Conduit. So every soul shard, you could maybe get a refund. You got Inner Demon. So you passively summon wild imps to the fight every 12 seconds and have a 10% chance to summon an additional demon to fight for you. Wow, that's a lot of demons. And then the Grimoire Felguard. So that actually summons the Felguard to do the big damage if you want to. Oh, and you stun the target when they're summoned. That's a free stun.
It's huge. It's a free stun, so you can technically double stun, which is always nice. But in my case, where I played with a rogue, I really didn't need that. So here, let's go through them.
All right.
Soul Conduit, that was in BFA. Soul Conduit was amazing. That was before they nerfed it. So it used to be a 20% chance, which I think made it a little more favorable, or not favorable, but like interesting. Like, you definitely wanted to run that, especially since you're shard starved sometimes. It definitely has its play. Now, as far as how Necrolord works, originally we said we take Power Siphon, which sacrifices 2 imps. Those 2 imps that you're sacrificing typically are going to come from your Inner Demons talent. And if you just read through it, basically you just summon 2 wild imps. They last 12 seconds. Now, fun fact, and this also comes from my main man, Epic Burn. The imps that come out of your Inner Demons talent have more health.
Really?
So if you play Big Tyrant, and you still have your Inner Demons, like those imps out, or whatever demons come out of there, it's definitely going to be a stronger Tyrant. Coolest part is it does have a small proc chant, like to summon like a weird random demon. You can get like Prince Malzahar from like whatever raid that was. Karazhan, was it? Yeah. I think you can get like Shivara. It's one of those raid bosses that was from Black Temple. What is it? Mother Shiraz? Yeah. You can get her. Yeah, you get some weird demons. You can get like some weird looking dogs. I like it. But
That's
it definitely,
awesome.
it goes hand in hand with Power Siphon for sure.
Okay.
And that's kind of my preferred talent choice.
So if that's your preferred, then when would you choose Felguard then?
When I raid, because I do play Big Tyrant raid, but here's the deal. You could play this talent on one condition. Even if you're playing Necrolord, you would take Demonic Consumption and play into a Big Tyrant. The only reason you take Grimoire or Felguard, because it has like such a long cooldown, it's 2 minutes, is to summon like a massive Tyrant. And I'll be honest, it adds a lot of health to that Tyrant and like a lot of damage. When you have Vile Fiend out, you have like 6 imps, a pair of Dreadstalkers, and Grimoire Felguard out. Your Tyrant is smacking people for like anywhere between 10 and 20k. Like, and that is no joke.
Jeez.
Yeah. The only thing is, it's not the playstyle you want. It's a playstyle with like a really prolonged damage profile, meaning like how long you have to wait for your cooldowns to be up. It's a while compared to, for instance, Necro Locks, which is basically 45 seconds. And that is the cooldown of Decimating Bolt. It's just 45 seconds. So you essentially can kill someone every less than a minute, which is huge. So yeah, I definitely go Inner Demons.
So, all right, quick question. Is there any way to counter the Tyrant? Like, can he just get locked down, be it like a Frost Nova or some sort of a lockdown, a Hodge? Like,
yeah, there's way too many ways to counter Tyrant, and that is the most like frustrating thing ever.
Oh, that would suck so bad.
Well, here's the thing. So it comes with two things. Like, so first off, you can counter it pretty easily, right? So you have some people literally interrupt the tyrant. They will, like, mages will counterspell tyrant. Warriors, rets, they'll try to kill it because they can. They can kill anything in the game. You can range it. You can run from it. A good lock, playing with a team that knows how to set up around it, though, won't let that happen. So a lot of like the rank 1 demo locks that I watch play and the ones I look up to, the teams they play with, they've been playing with forever. So when it comes to setting it up, like for instance, MLD, your druid is gonna vortex instantly.
Yeah.
So they can't go anywhere. They're locked in the middle. They're gonna take it. On top of that, target is gonna already be stunned. Off target is probably gonna be sheeped by your mage. They make sure they eliminate any factor of anyone trying to counterplay, and so they have no choice but to eat that damage.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to really how good you are and how good your team is.
Like you said, that's a lot of setup for that one go. So
Yeah, but if you do it right, that's the only setup you need.
fair enough. As long as you survive up until that time.
Correct.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Big. Roll through this last tier. Let's see what finishes off this whole set.
Yeah, so our first option is Sacrifice Souls. It's Shadow Bolt and Demon Bolt. Deal 4% additional damage per demon you have summoned. I'm not a guessing man, but I'm going to guess that's the talent you choose because it increases the Demon Bolt damage. But then there's also Demonic Consumption, where your demon commander now drains 15% of the life from your other demons to empower themselves. And then Nether Portal, which is a 2.5 minute cooldown. And I've never even read this before. Tear and open the portal to the Twisting Nether for 15 seconds. Every time you spend soul shards, you also command demons for the Nether to come out and fight for you. So which one are you choosing on the final tier?
I go between both Sack Souls and Demonic Consumption. Oh yeah. So when you play the hybrid, you play Demonic Consumption, and you have the best of both worlds. So you have the 45-second go, and you have the minute-and-a-half go with Tyrant. So Tyrant hits hard, your bolts hit hard. Not as hard as they do with Sack Souls, but it's between like 13 and 20k, so it's not terrible.
All right.
Sack Souls is definitely the more preferred one, and the reason is that's the one that fuels the big bolts. For each demon you have out, it's 4% more bolt damage. So when you have like 12 imps out, dogs, everything, yeah, I mean you're definitely hitting somebody for 45k, plain and simple.
All right.
I didn't realize Demon Warlocks had so many active abilities on their talent calculator. Like every one of these tiers kind of has an active ability that can be added to your bar, which is kind of unusual. Like normally when you think of, building a spec, you don't really have to add many things to your bars from your talent tree, but geez. I've never seen this many things like that you could put on your bars.
Yeah, we have a good bit of abilities. Don't get me wrong. You'll hear a lot of people, they like it when like the spec or the class is a little more dumbed down and they're like, I have too many buttons. I love having more buttons. I think it's cool. The more buttons you have, the more things you can do. That's the thing I always say. So I'm all right with the actives. Maybe less cast time. That would be nice. I'm hard casting everything, so
See, if it were
definitely has its
me,
downside.
like my new brain just says, just pick all the things that are like these active abilities. I'm just gonna pick all the active talents like Demonic Strength, Summon Vile Fiend, Grimoire, Felguard, Netherport. I just want to slam all that and see what happens. Like
Well, when you play
that's
the
my
Tyrant,
goal.
you take those. You take Demonic Strength, you take Doom, Dark Pact, Vile Fiend,
Yeah.
Coil, Grimoire, Felguard, Demonic Consumption. But
I want that portal. That portal, like I want to summon demons from the Twisting Nether. That sounds amazing.
What season was it? It was BFA. A bunch of like warlocks played around with it. I played around with it just to see what it could do. If you're able to plant
Yeah.
your feet, like, and I mean really plant, meaning you don't move and you just cast, you can maybe dent someone's health right now, which is so sad to say. I wish we
Yeah.
had more play with Nether Portal. I think it has like a lot of potential. The cooldown needs to be cut down to even like a minute and a half, a minute. Maybe cut down on the cast time.
2.5 second cast and a 2.5 minute cooldown.
Some
that's
games
an
don't even
eternity.
last 2.5 minutes. To be honest with you, they really most of my games don't. Like, I'm just being real. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
So definitely doesn't see a lot of play.
So let's pivot just a little bit while we're on the topic of talents. Let's talk about PvP talents for a little bit. And
yeah.
I think the best way to do this is to talk about what talents you typically hard lock first. So are there any hard locks for demonology that you typically do not change?
So Master Summoner is crucial. It's the one that makes your Dreadstalkers instant. And the
Hmm.
reason for it is your Dreadstalkers are not cast those. You don't take the Demonic Calling talent, so you don't get instant stalkers off of that one talent proc, because that's just a raid talent.
Hmm.
So you definitely need it, especially with how much you're hard casting and how crucial your like Dreadstalkers are. You need to be
Hmm.
able to get those out first. Two reasons: they do a lot of damage. They apply the debuff. They play into your tyrant's damage, and most importantly, when they die, you get 2 demonic core procs, which are free instant demon bolts. So they have a lot of like use, and that's why you always want to mention them.
Okay.
Nice. And then what are the other ones that you might be hard locking?
Call Fellhunter for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason is we don't have interrupt. We have a stun, which I guess last, what is it, 9.1? It got like made into like an quote unquote, but at the end of the day in PvP it's still a stun.
Yeah.
So you need an interrupt. I take it. Third one, I don't necessarily hard lock it, but I just find it's like the most fun to play is you know Obelisk, Fell
Yeah.
Obelisk, and it's just haste. It's a lot of haste for you and your pets. It's 20%, I think. So you
Okay.
basically get your PI every 45 seconds, which is cool.
Yeah, and again,
Wow.
everything is kind of building around. Well, if you're playing towards Decimating Bolt, it sounds like a pretty important talent to be picking because Decimating
Here's the
Bolt is
thing.
kind of hard to cast.
Exactly. It has a long cast time, which is an issue. Now, there is a Warlock on EU, M God X. He plays without Call Felner. He's been playing with his team forever, so it's the same people that he got rank 1 and a bunch of glads with. But he doesn't
Hmm.
use an interrupt as a demo lock. He uses Succubus. So from the shadow, what is it? Pleasure through pain.
Yeah.
That one
Oh
talent. So what
wow.
it is yeah, it cuts down on the cast time of your Shadow Bolt and increases all shadow damage you do by like what, 15%? Now, if
Yeah.
you put that on top of, how big your demon bolts can get, he's hitting like outrageous numbers. I
Yeah,
mean, just
I've
numbers
seen his
I've
clips.
never hit
Yeah.
before. Yeah. The only thing is he has no interrupt. So I'll be honest. If you ever listen to his streams, he's raging a lot when he plays in a rogue mage. I mean, he
Oh
shoots
yeah.
all of them.
Hey, I bet if you played like MLD or something, you could easily play Pleasure Through Pain. Like that seems like that would be pretty bonkers. Like, your MLD, you don't really need an additional interrupt per se. I mean, so
Your
of
as
course it's
MLD,
nice.
your defense is your offense, and your offense is your defense.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're probably right there. I played around with it without using an interrupt. I'll be honest. Like even when pushing for Vlad, like I didn't use interrupt, and there were a few games where I used like the succubus. It has its benefits. You're definitely dishing out a lot more damage. But if you're
Hmm.
playing in a rogue mage or like shadow priests or S play, where the priest gets off of mind games and you're screwed after that, like you could have interrupted that, and
That feels
since you
bad.
didn't, it's GG. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so we talked about the talents you hard lock, and so we'll go over the other talents one by one and talk about whether or not they're used situationally. So one talent is Amplify Curse, which kind of is self-explanatory. It just makes your next curse much stronger. Do you ever select that talent?
So I did in season 1. Not so much now. You can take it in twos against warriors, and the reason for it is, um, if you take it and you amplify your weakness, you make someone like they're unable to crit. And this
Yeah.
goes for Holy Pally, not Holy Pally, but Ret Pally Word of Glory, which is huge. If anyone remembers in season 1, Word of Glories were critting for their entire health bar. Like Ret
Yeah.
Pallies didn't
Hmm.
die. But on top of that, warriors, like if you can make it to where they're unable to crit, especially if you're like near death, their executes really don't mean much.
Yeah.
That must that would frustrate me if that happened.
Yeah, definitely. I don't take it as much now just because there really isn't that much of a need for it now. I can see
Yeah.
maybe you can take it in a Ret Warrior, put it on the Ret. He won't crit you for 50k. He'll crit you for like 30, or normal hit you for 30. Still kill you though. But it definitely has its uses.
And
All
then
right.
moving on, what about Bane and Fragility? Ever choosing that talent?
Not anymore. I think it's cool to have, and it hasn't. The whole idea behind it is great, but I don't really see a use for it right now. Maybe in a Rogue Mage, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess maybe what's better is to go through some of the other situations. Like, what talents are you picking that we haven't talked about so far that are kind of used situationally?
Netherward.
Another word, yeah,
Netherward
yeah.
into Shadow Play, or trying to think, MLD.
Yeah.
But you don't see a lot of MLD right now. It's great. The comp is awesome, I think, because obviously running triple Necrolord makes it a really tanky wizard clear. But S play for sure, especially with Demon Bolt being as hard hitting as it is. I've reflected a few that have killed them. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Mind games, reflecting that also has benefits, but the only situation you'd ever run that into is making sure you can select something that would like turn the game around completely.
Yeah,
And
like a
so,
mind games, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then
Oh, so
what about go ahead,
does
Gerissar?
does Netherward reflect Convoke?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't run it too much in enemy teams in 3s and 2s. I do. And you can see their entire Convoke just run right back into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
fun.
I wasn't sure because there's always that weird thing when you do a reflect, but if it's not direct damage from a caster, it doesn't always go back to that. But I guess that one it still
Yeah.
counts as coming from the caster. So
It does,
yeah,
and it unlike Warrior Spell Reflect, where it was like it's one ability, Netherward lasts the entire duration that it's up, so it'll reflect just anything you throw at it for like 3 or 4 seconds.
nice. All right, sorry, carry on, big guys. Just no,
Yeah,
opening my
and then
brain.
I'm just thinking the other situational talents. I'm guessing Shadow Rift isn't played too much in threes. I know that's like a big RBG talent. Do you ever play Shadow Rift in threes?
No. To be honest with you, I have played Shadow Rift maybe once. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, and that's about
Yeah,
it. Like I think it's fun to play to port him on top of your port, but I don't know. I just don't think it's as impactful as some of their talents for Necro Demo.
Yeah, it seems like you're giving up a lot to take it.
Yeah.
All right. I think that covers all the PvP talents that you typically care about. Is there any that we're missing by chance?
No, I think we covered them all.
all
Nice.
right.
And then, yeah, so let's move on to talk about covenants. I know we've discussed this throughout the cast so far. So, what covenant are you choosing in the current patch?
Necrolord.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. That's the one I'm going with. As far as PvP goes, Necrolord is best in slot. You can still play Night Fae. I know one lock who's Night Fae, who's actually like, I think number 4 NA for all demo
Mm,
locks. But he's one of like 100, and the
yeah,
rest of them are all, they're Necro. So I just play Necrolord. I stick with it. I play Night Fae in Raid, and I think come 9.2, I'll just be playing Necro permanently.
nice. And
Okay.
again, it's for anyone who's tuning in right now, that's entirely because the spec seems to be revolving around decimating bolt. I mean, that's a big part of the spec right now in PvP, and that's the Necrolord specific ability. Um, but is there any other reasons why you want to choose Necrolord? I mean, I know it has a lot of passive defense. Is that really important for Demo Warlocks?
Not so much. I think Warlocks are just naturally tanky in raid settings, I'll be honest. I eat most mechanics, but as PvP goes, mastery. Whenever you fleshcraft, you get like 120, is it? Or 240, something like that. Mastery, which
Hmm.
is kind of nice just for overall demon damage. Never hurts. Plague Divisor, the first soul bind. Whenever you use Decimating Bolt, your little Kevin's Oozling gives you an extra 6% damage,
Yeah,
and that goes hand in hand with just like big demon bolts, big tyrants, things like that.
yeah.
And then
Your
the covenant
decimating
just
bolt,
looks really cool. Yeah, there you go.
and you get the Shard of Annihilation proc, and then you're just doing 6% more damage on that for free,
Exactly.
essentially.
You give your entire team 6% more damage if you don't have any Necros other than you, which I think
Hmm.
most people are Necro now. People get it,
Yeah,
that it's just like the overall best covenant.
I
and
smell
this
a
might,
nerve.
yeah,
We'll see. We'll see. Sorry. Well, so if we're all going to be Necros, what shadow or soulbind are you going to get? What conduits are you going to be putting in? What are you going to be focusing on?
So, what I personally like to go are carnivorous stalkers. And so, whenever you use your dread stalkers, they have like a 6% chance if you have a 252 item level conduit to like dread bite again, which is huge. It refreshes the dot or the deep on the target, so they don't necessarily have like dread bite and then dread bite again. It could be like while up at any point, they'll just use it again. It's a good refresh for the dot. Um, I use the Felguard one, and I think it's Fel Commando. And the reason for that being, like, the most important is your Felguard is squishy. Having like a 15% damage reduction and 15% damage increase, it's, I don't know. I see it as being the highest value conduit we have. And last but not least, Born of Blood. And it's I think, Hand of Gul'dan, every time you use it, you have like a 30% chance to get a demonic core proc. And so what that is just an instant demon bolt. So if you get really lucky and you spam Hand of Gul'dans, you just get like an infinite amount of demon bolt that you can either
Huh.
hoard or use for more shards, more imps, bigger bolts later on. It's up to you.
Ooh, I'm getting shivers here. I kind of you're making it sound pretty juicy to play demo. I might actually swap out here.
I'll be honest with you, and you haven't heard this from anyone in a while. Demonology is like the best Warlock spec right now in PvP. Like,
It
I'm
sounds
not
like
gonna
it.
say it's not even close, but it is. For the first time in I don't know how long, but it's definitely the best.
All right. Any other conduits you're pulling out that you're looking at? Which ones are you looking for to max out the soonest? I guess.
Okay, so what you want is, and let me pull it up honestly, just because there's a name for it.
Okay.
It's gonna be Fel Celerity, and
Okay.
that's the one that basically your Fel Domination is the one that gives you like that almost instant pet summon. And so you need that. People are going to attack your pet a lot and they're going to kill it. You're going to need to resummon it. And all that does is
Yeah.
reduce the cooldown of Fel Domination by a lot. Like if you get it at 252, you're looking at like 72 seconds just taking off the cooldown. Huge. That's the highest value as far as like finesse goes. As far as another one for finesse, I'd say is probably going to be Demonic Momentum. When you port, you get a huge movement speed increase. So if you're
yeah,
playing against comps where
it's a
you're
good one.
like kiting, yeah, that's my favorite one because I am kiting a lot. And
Okay.
so if I'm porting behind like a pillar and I'm still being chased, like, yeah, it definitely gives me a little bit more movement to be on the feet, just to live long enough to get cooldowns out, whether it's Dark Pact, whatever it is.
Smart.
Yeah.
I I think porting is probably my Achilles heel. I always find myself when I need to port, I'm just like that little bit out of range of my portal. It's like
Yeah, that's
that's always
definitely
been a
something you learn with, I think, over time. And there's no trick to it. That
no.
comes with like putting more hours into the class. And I still make that mistake every now and then. But when you're kiting, you're always looking at um, your port button. If it's
Yeah.
lit, great. And if it's not, you're in danger if you get kidneyed.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
Oh, so bad.
that's it.
Uh yeah, big. Do you want to do let's do the legendaries.
Yeah, so we've kind of teased this throughout the podcast, so I'm guessing we're gonna have an obvious choice for this. But what legendary are you typically running in 9.15?
Shard of Annihilation, for sure.
Yeah.
If you're necro for demonology. If you're not, you can run the synergy one. If you're Night Fae, and you want to stay Night Fae, like I know you're Night Fae for Affliction, and you want to try Demo, but you don't want to go Necrolord just yet. Synergy's great. It still works.
Hmm.
The only one that I can think of that's really good still, if you play Orc, is Cephas, because it stacks with your
Yes.
hardiness talent, or passive, whatever it is. Huge. I think I still play it in twos, even as a Necrolord in some road comps, because you're looking at what, minus 30% duration on your stuns, which is
Yeah.
really good for kidneys. It's frustrating sitting a full kidney with like no CDR whatsoever. I mean, you're
Would
just
you
sitting there forever.
would you by chance play Decaying Soul Satchel at all?
Um,
It's
as demo right now, no. 9.2, I was thinking about it for
Okay.
sure. When you
that
get
one's
to
pretty
use the
nuts.
neck, yeah, that one it's really good if you're Affliction. If you're
Yeah,
Affliction and you play that, like, you definitely play Demon Bolt, like, you're looking at almost an instant death bolt,
yeah,
especially in threes. But as demo, you have to use your Shard of Annihilation. It's the only
yeah.
thing that makes your Demon Bolts hit hard.
Hmm.
So to give you an example, your Demon Bolts without your Shard of Annihilation are hitting for like 4 or 5k.
Yeah,
That's it. They're critting for 5k. I mean, so with it, they're critting for like 30 almost.
yeah.
So
Big difference.
there you go. Yeah.
Well, so
Sweet.
let's think 9.2 then. It's right around the corner in terms of expansion. So aside from, they said you're going to do Necrolords, so you're going to keep the Shard of Annihilation. That's going to be your Covenant Legendary. What's your second one? What's your go-to then? Is it going to be Sephuz? Is it going to be...
Yeah, it'll be Cephus for any road comp. That was the first legendary I made actually in all of Shadowlands.
Yeah, not
Um,
surprised.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was the first one I rushed just because it was really good for demo. I mean, you got the stat increase whenever you interrupted or CC'd someone, but also as an orc demo lock who needed a heart and needed a kite to live. Like that reduction in any CC, especially stuns, was huge.
Yeah.
Um, the other one I was gonna run was I think the Inquisitor one. I forgot what it's called. But it's basically just it's extra damage on your Demon Bolt. As long as you're
Okay.
like spamming more shadow bolts into the target, it just kind of stacks and increases your Demon Bolt damage, which goes hand in hand with your Affliction. And that'll be the other one I run. But other than that, that's about it.
Wow. As if you need more things to run to boost your Demon Bolt.
Right? I mean, here's the thing, you can play around with it. That's the best part. You have one Covenant legendary and whatever legendary to choose from. You can use the gates, the one for your like lock gate,
Mhm.
make it instant, reduce the cooldown on it. That's really good in the comps that you know are going to run at you the whole time. But
Yep.
I mean, if you're wanting to be more realistic, Demonology's biggest issue as far as go, like damage done, is sometimes you don't have enough damage to finish the target off. You have enough damage to take it down to 10%, but
Mhm.
once it's at 10%, like, I don't know, I find that I have no fuel left in the tank, and so you want to pair it with another damage legendary, something that's
Okay.
going to really make sure it gives you like the most bang for your buck.
Make you that kill spec. Okay.
Exactly.
Uh, what are you looking for stats then? What are you
Haste
what
verse.
haste verse? Okay.
Yeah. Um, Not verse haste, but like you really do want a lot of haste. Like I think I have like 30% baseline haste in PvP, which is more than most locks, honestly. And verse, you're looking somewhere between 32 and 35. But if you can find like that nice median, um, you know, the more haste you have, the more demons you're gonna have out, the bigger your bolts are gonna be. The faster
Okay.
your fear cast.
Yeah. No, fair, especially if you're hard casting that. I'm kind of surprised actually because the way you're talking, I thought it would have been like haste was equal with mastery almost because mastery sounds like it's. But I guess that's more if you're doing the big demon, right? If you're doing.
Yes and no. Yes being like mastery is still good for demonology. No being it just doesn't scale like it
Okay.
does in raid. The scaling is like significantly lower.
Hmm.
And I've just the way I've seen it is versatility is king, right? Like the more verse
Yeah.
you have in PvP, like the more damage, less damage you're gonna take. etc. Like it's just good. And then haste is just for faster. Everyone likes to
Okay.
cast faster. No one wants to cast slower.
Of course,
So
of course. And just one question further with just as we're talking about stats, when it comes to the big demon, is there any stat snapshotting that you take care of? Like, are you looking for like, all of a sudden I have this buff? Oh, my mastery and my whatever is this much more, so I have to make sure I hit during that window, or does it not do that? Oh, does it scale as your stat scale? Do you know?
The biggest thing that plays in your tyrant when you're going and you're playing into that build that siphons damage into him is demons. If you're Necrolord, so you just make sure you have as many demons as possible within like the
Okay.
right time frame. But if you're playing Night Fae, you play Dreamweaver, and if you ever play Dreamweaver, once you use your Soul Rot, you have that little just on the ground right beneath you is a puddle. You stand
Yeah.
in it, it's 15% more haste. The cool thing is your tyrant scales heavily off haste.
Okay.
Think if you play Dreamweaver and you run Fell Obelisk, which is another 20. I personally like, especially with the demonic, the decaying soul satchel that Ryan was talking about. You can go up to like 60 to 70% haste, which is, I know that sounds insane, but yeah,
So
for
yeah.
like a solid 15 seconds, you're the Flash. It's kind of nice.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Big. I know you love talking about comps and twos and all that theory
Oh yeah.
crafting.
Yes, I like talking about tier lists. That's my entire existence is to think of tier lists all day, every day. So yeah. So speaking of that, what are some good comps to play as a Demon Warlock in 2v2?
In twos, if you're looking for straight like aggression with, I guess like the downside being its only aggression is Arsham. I mean,
Yeah.
you got the Resto Shaman with his elemental that lasts like 3 years. So it's basically
Yeah.
3v2. Shears, 12-second interrupt, purges, good damage. But as far as the best overall healer, it's Resto Druid. And
Yeah.
there's no other healer that can set you up as a in general like a Resto Druid could. If you play with a good druid that can go for re-stealths, rake stuns, especially on your kill targets, like it's
Mhm.
kind of huge as far as getting casts off. And this goes really well into warriors. Warriors are sitting
Yeah.
on you the entire time. When your druid's rake stunning them, and you're able to get these casts off without getting pummeled, feared, whatever it is, storm bolted, it's high value.
Yeah. And then for threes, what do you think is your best comp for threes right now?
For warlock, it's shadow play. It's
Yeah.
boring,
Yeah.
but it's the go-to. You play shadow play. You can play it with a shaman. You can play it with another holy priest. I did this season for a
Oh,
little
neat.
bit. I know a friend of mine, Demonic Lily. She's getting her glad wins playing shadow play with an H priest. But
Awesome.
Resto Druid is obviously the best. Good for dampening. If the druid's getting trained, he can live on his own, and he has U2 to peel. But
Mhm.
another one that I actually played with a little bit this season and I loved was BM Hunter Demo Lock.
Oh
Resto Druid.
yeah. Because BM hunters have
Yes,
that talent that increases pet damage of every pet in their team.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so
Oh,
cool.
that's
Obviously,
sick.
it can be a little cancerous. 'Cause people will rage whisper you afterwards and just call you like AI cleave or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really good. You can always like hunters trapping and you're fearing off trap, whatever it is. I mean, it definitely goes hand in hand as far as DC combination go. Good strats for kills, especially if you're
You
playing
know,
like a tribal
I
hunter.
bet money that if a robot could play like WoW perfectly, that it would play like that comp. Like that just seems like the most obnoxious comp, and like if you can get consistent setups and
Yeah,
have that extra damage from the BM Hunter talent, that seems like the way
yeah.
to go for sure.
It's annoying. It's a lot of cleave damage. It's a lot of just passive damage in general,
Yeah.
but it works. The cool thing about Necrolord is you're not like, whereas Night Fae, you really just ran with other wizards. Shadow
Yeah.
play, you played with a mage. You maybe played with a Windwalker. But Necrolord, it's really versatile. You're tankier. You're relying on bolt damage. every 45 seconds, which if you look at most melee like classes in general, their profiles are like 45 seconds. So
Yeah.
you as well with Windwalker. I played with a rogue, worked really well. Play with warrior, enhanced shaman. Shout out to BlizzCon Legion. We all remember that.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Nice. And with all these comps, I'm assuming your goal is, you talk about the 45-second setups. Is that typically your goal in all these comps, is to try to set up a big demon bolt and kind of work around that cooldown window?
yeah. So if you play Shadow Player, your gun is going to be on the kill target. It's
Yeah.
easiest because your pet's on the kill target. So the priest is typically going to stun and silence the healer.
Yeah.
Just kind of delete him from the game real quick. And the whole goal is basically it's just a triangle formation and just showdown, just to kill the target. Yeah, you set up the demon bolt that way, and it's usually pretty easy. If you play with a druid, he's going to root or clone, bash whatever the off target is.
Hmm.
Works well.
Nice.
Vortex always goes like super well, especially for like demo.
And I'm sure some people are out there who don't like queuing into Demon Warlocks. So what advice would you give to people who want to counter your spec? What's
I hate that
something
I
that
have to say
really
this.
what really
Uh,
grinds your gears?
Killing my pet. Yeah.
Okay.
If you kill a warlock's pet, like a Demolock's pet,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of think of like a robot malfunctioning. Like Demolocks can't malfunction. They can't function without the Felguard. They take
Yes.
more damage. They don't have an MS because the Felguard does have a 10% MS. They
Yeah.
don't have a stun. They don't
Okay.
have like that cleave from the Felguard. Works.
Nice.
Well, it's like a free wall, right? You get rid of the wall.
Yeah, it's not just that. I mean, also if you look at it, like Felguard is still a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It is a big chunk of your damage still. So once you delete that, you're good to go. It's easy to kill. I had 2 Frost Mages and 2s last night, just like blast my like Felguard like 3 times. Every time I summoned him, he was instant dead. Yeah, super frustrating. But if you were looking for another way to do it, let's say you're playing into a Warlock that really, really just is good about keeping his pet alive, interrupt everything on the lock. The first thing that comes there,
Yeah.
like Shadow Bolt, interrupt it. I promise you set him back. It's just a hard cast heavy spec. You
Yeah.
still have to hard cast once everything's said and done.
Delay the ramp.
Yep.
It's all
Once you
shadow
delay the
damage too,
ramp,
right?
you're good. It's all shadow damage, but we do have multiple schools of spells. So if I
Okay.
get kicked on Fear, I can still cast Hand of Gul'dan.
Yeah.
But if I get kicked on Hand of Gul'dan, I'm kind of locked out of everything since it's chaos.
Yeah. I guess if you're out of shadow, you have chaos, and you could probably still immolate in that, right? And still get a couple of fire spells.
So that's
out.
for Destro, but yeah, basically same thing.
I thought
like how Chaos Bolt is like, think of Chaos
Oh,
Bolt like
shit.
Demon Bolt.
Yep.
Same thing. They're both chaotic damage, really. Shadow Flame, Chaos Energy, whatever it is. Same concept, really.
Okay.
If you kick me on Shadow Bolt, Demon Bolt.
Okay. Sorry, for some reason I thought you still had immolate as a demo.
That would be funny, honestly, to see. Now you're good.
Well,
That'd actually be interesting.
Yeah, I remember back in the day it used to be there.
We
Yeah,
have corruption, believe it or not. So I mean, there's that. I mean, you
Yeah,
can
but that's still
cast
shadow,
corruption as a
right?
demo log. It's shadow.
yeah.
It's funny. I still see some warlocks casting it like as demo, not even as AF. Like they'll just use it in a duel.
They've
don't know
malfunctioned.
Yeah, it's weird seeing it. Like it's not even on my bars.
I wonder if they just think it's like free damage for a GCD.
Yeah.
That, but if it had a chance to generate a shard randomly, I might look into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
All right. Well, on that little dream of yours, I'm gonna pose. So this is the last scenario you always do. Is the one thing you'd change. So Ian Ozakostas calls you up and says, Omar, doesn't matter. What's one thing you'd want to change about Demolock? It doesn't matter what the probability of it is, the cost. You know what? We'll put it into action. What's your one dream change you'd like to have happen to the spec?
Currently for Shadowlands or in general?
Tomato. Either.
I'll do both. I'll do both.
No, you only get one.
Shadowlands,
You only
I
get
only
one.
get one. Okay, in that case, give me back my 2-second cast time for pet summon. I think the spec plays well right now. I'll be
Okay.
honest. Demo is strong. I used to cry a lot thinking Demo is bad, like, when it wasn't performing as well.
Mhm.
And I guess I could justify that cry, but right now, like, can't really complain. Like, Demo is really strong, but you kill the pet, it's a hassle to get it back. And if we're gonna play and build off of this form of demonology moving forward, the cast time on the pet summon is huge.
Didn't they just reduce the cast time on hunter pet summons?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 seconds, I think now,
Okay.
I think it's actually 2 now.
or 2. Yeah,
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was 4, and I think it's either 2 or 3 now.
Yeah.
It's much easier.
it's
Okay.
a lot
You know.
easier. But yeah, I would like to see it reduced. I'm not saying it should be 1 or 2 seconds, but even if it was 3, that's so significant.
Yeah.
The amount of times I'm like running at the end, like towards the other like on arena to get like my Felguard out before the other team like just charges in and like interrupts me is it's countless.
I believe it. I guess it's fair. It shouldn't take as long to summon a pet as it takes to cap a flag in a battleground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just
Man.
the way I see it is maybe for demo, it doesn't have to be all Warlock specs. Granted, I still play all 3 specs. Don't get me wrong. It's just demo is the one I play the most. But like, if you are reliant on your demons,
Yeah.
and in general, you're relying on your pet, I think you should be granted that little passive bonus in your spell book somewhere where it just says reduce the cast time of Felguard by 3 seconds.
I think it makes
I
sense
just
lore
think
wise.
so.
I mean, you're the master summoner, you're that demonologist, like you have that deeper understanding of demons. It would make sense that you should be able to summon them more easily than the other specs. So yeah. I get it. How about you, Big? Do you have a wish list if Ian turned to you and asked you what you think he should change for demon locks?
Man, I mean, if the imps didn't have nameplates, or like if the pets didn't have nameplates, I think that would be a massive improvement. I mean, that's one of the most frustrating things about playing against Demon Warlocks is like you don't even know what's going on half the time. Your screen is just these little tiny green health bars. And you're like, what the heck? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, it's like what it reminds me of is like, imagine being like in a submarine or whatever, like those war submarines, and you see on your radar like these little like blips. It's like having 8 million blips on your screen. It's like, what the heck? Like, I'm in trouble. Like, and so I'd rather not have all of these nameplates on my screen. And I think that would be the biggest improvement you can make for the spec. I don't care about it. I don't care if Demon Warlocks are good or bad. Just less nameplates.
All right.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
No. I would like, so considering how demon warlocks have that deep understanding of demonology and the demons and all that, I would like to see a kind of a counterplay. So if you have 2 demonology, and if you're up against another demonology warlock, is that kind of like that interaction of how that would work? So either a mass banish or a mass control demon. So you could like do like an AoE and just either like whack stun all of the other the enemy's demons, or control them all and make them yours.
I see what you're saying. So you want it to be an even more annoying match than it already is.
Exactly.
I'll be honest. Demo lock versus demo lock. If you're both using Felguards, there is not another more annoying mirror, in my opinion. In fact, I still, every time I'm like playing 2s or 3s and I see another demo on the team, I'm like, this is gonna be a nightmare. Like, it's whoever gets their decimating bolt off first. Plain and simple.
I could totally see that.
Whoever does, and whoever uses his toss, like his pet stun first, the other one gets the advantage.
I feel like Warlocks have a lot of class envy. It's definitely one of those specs. Like, I mean, I think every spec has class envy, but Warlocks definitely probably feel it the hardest because, I mean, historically, there's so many little things you can do to annoy the other Warlock,
Oh yeah.
and you know exactly what grinds their gears. So Yeah,
Especially if you play Demo, you know the little things you have to do to make a Demonology Warlock life miserable, and you do
Yeah.
them. And it's, I don't know. I'd rather just slash AFK.
Right.
Sounds bad. All right. Well, I think if anybody else has what they would like to change, I'd love to hear about it. But in the meantime, why don't we take a look at the PvP news and see what's been happening in the last couple of weeks?
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
Gosh, I love Millhouse, man. All right. WoW PvP news. Well then. Okay. Sorry. Got a little distracted reading something at the same time, which I should not do. So our friend Flark, he did a tournament on Saturday, the December the 11th. So huge congrats to him for getting that. And the team Erratic Druid, Kid Chaos, and Sipai won that, doing Resto Druid, DK Warrior. I know, small shock on that. But they're the ones that won, and I have to admit, it was a great turnout. It was a great team that won, and I mean, really, it. So again, with that tournament, it's always anybody can sign up regardless of the experience. It's a solo queue, and he just kind of makes up the teams on the fly there, and then you have to run with it. So this fact that this team came together and was able to figure out some synergy was I think was really good. Yeah. So I don't know if did either of you guys either of you guys watch that or check it out?
No, I mean I'd love to though.
Okay.
For sure, I'd be interested in seeing it.
Well, if you want, always if you go over to his Twitch channel, there's the VODs are there. I'm not sure how long they stick around for, but that's Flarkness TV. And then Big, did you check out the Oasis 2v2 tournament that they had on the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th?
No, I did not, unfortunately. No,
that's too bad.
no.
Okay. Well, again, it seems to be the theme of the week, where it's a solo queue and they just make teams. So again, this was a kind of a experience balancing. So there's some lower experience matched up with higher experience. DPS only. And it was over the 2 days. And this was actually a fundraising tournament. This one, so they still have the tournament or the fundraising open. Blah, wow, words are hard all of a sudden. So it's for Chalk Walk, where they're raising money for people that are stuck at the hospital. They can't go home for Christmas or can't spend Christmas. That they're stuck there because of treatment and whatnot, especially kids. So this fundraiser was to help raise some funds and make the Christmas season a bit more enjoyable for them. The donation link is still going to remain open until the end of the month. You can find that over on the Oasis Discord. You got $640 raised by the end of the tournament they did on the weekend. And quick congrats to the team Nut and Giz for winning the 18th. I forgot to write down who won on the 17th because it's actually two separate tournaments that they ran. But again, fun times. People, learning how to play together on the fly during a tournament is interesting to say the least. There was some absolute banger of matches where there's a couple. It was Windwalker Monk. Like, it shouldn't be surprised that it went. Their teammate died, and then they turned around and killed the other player. So then it became a 1v1. So, and then it kind of there's one that came down the wire. It was Monk v Monk. It was basically like, and they're like fist of flurrying against each other, and then one Zuen came out, and the other Zuen came out, and ports and vivifies.
Port.
Yeah. It was, you knew where it was going, but it was basically turned into a great Monk v Monk duel. It was really good. So,
nice.
Yeah. Last for the official tournaments, the last Blizzard tournament was the Great Push on the 10th and the 12th, and what a way to end the official World of Warcraft esports season. And Aster Y taking the first place on that tournament. Shouldn't be surprised.
But no, they that last dungeon they ran just kind of put them ahead by, I think it was just so far ahead it didn't matter. They would have won regardless. And yeah,
Yes.
no, it was definitely fun watching him play. Performance was insane.
Didn't they get like a world first 32 key?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I want to say there was a 32 key ran in the previous expansion, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was like BFA. I have no idea, but I know I listened to like podcasts with Tettles and Dratnos. What is it, Titan Forge podcast, and they were talking about
Yeah.
that too. But yeah, that performance was insane, to say the least. It was really entertaining.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was all right. Sorry. Other than that, I'd say the other teams was also absolutely amazing. Team Echo, Incarnation, they did some really good runs. I'm trying to think the other ones that ran. Shoot, what were the other teams? Oh, Sheesh. Method picked up the team Sheesh, and that was also they did a really great run. I think the neatest thing I found about the tournament, so it started on Friday, and there's 2 mystery dungeons, and they didn't show up until Saturday and Sunday is when you actually saw what they were. But also, they dropped the team with the lowest score after the first day, and the same on the second day. So it started off with I think 6, and then it ended up with only 4 teams in the Sunday finals. So I thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, if you want to go check it out, they did a great write up over on the World of Warcraft site. You can see the news article there. And then last but not least, hot fixes. So these are always fun when they drop in the hot fixes. We talked about the one where they updated the casting time for hunters for their pets. And there it is. The spoils of war was fixed on the 15th. So it looks like they fixed that right away.
Yep.
Serves me right for not reading the hot fixes. I always talk about that. I tell people to read the hot fixes. I don't even do it myself. Did you guys see any other PvP ones that caught your eye throughout in the last 2 weeks?
I don't. Oh, well, I know. I don't know if this was in the past 2 weeks, but after the patch, the patch was supposed to nerf Triune Ward in PvP, and it just didn't. It affected the tooltip, but not the actual ability. But that was correctly fixed. So now you'll see more mages playing with. I think it's called Disciplinary Command is the legendary, instead of Triune. So some mages will be doing way more damage.
If they can't, if they can't tank, they're just gonna one shot you.
Right. Yes.
And that's exactly what that legendary does.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was in the past two weeks, but that was definitely a major one recently.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't, I think it was around the 4th. I can't remember, but it's good to remind people that got fixed. So
yeah.
I think that's about all the ones that I can see or think of. So, all right. Well, I guess that finishes up our podcast for the most part. Let's at least roll into the shout outs. I guess, Omar, Menemies, being the special guest, I'll give you the spot of the honor. Do you have anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah. I want to shout out, obviously, people that like taught me to play the spec. Epic Burn, Siffy, kind of like two mentors, honestly. We're just going to call it how it is. Just 2 people I can go to really to just kind of learn the spec in and outs of it and how to play it properly. And then last but not least, shout out to Lika for one, caring a lot about just kind of WoW PvP in general, always voicing his opinion. And it's a super kick-ass website. If you've never been to it, it's dressvar.com. Dressvar, like the zone from BFA. It's like probably the best PvP hub I've used personally. And I would definitely highly recommend you check it out.
I don't disagree. Big, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, a shout out to all the hardworking delivery drivers on this week. I imagine that's a pain in the butt. And I was just thinking, just checking the tracking on one of my packages during the podcast. I was like, well, I'm a jerk for ordering, last minute Christmas gifts. So shout out to them.
Yes.
Yeah, fair.
I you're not the only one.
Yes.
I
Everyone's guilty.
I've seen the amount of times I've seen Amazon, UPS, and FedEx driving past my house daily is oh, and of course the postal service. So yeah, I was gonna do a shout out, and now I totally forgot the name of the shout out I was gonna do. So I guess I'll just do the one I normally do. Shout out to all the people who are over on Patreon and supporting the Warcraft Radio website and all of Warcraft Radio there. I know they're the ones that help support us. So you're indirectly supporting us, and you're also supporting all the other podcasts over at Warcraft Radio. But Menemies, once again, just so that people know exactly where to find you, where are you on the internet?
So on Twitter, which I haven't really used a lot, but as of lately, I've been kind of picking back up on it. It's just the handle is Menemies_, and then if you ever want to see some hard Demo Warlock gameplay, you can always go to my Twitch. It's just twitch.tv/Menemies.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'll probably stream later tonight. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice. We'll have the links for those in the show notes as well. But Big, why don't you list off where our listeners can find us?
Sure. You can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Warcraft Radio Discord.
Indeed. You can also visit the Warcraft Radio website, where you're going to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows over at warcraftradio.com. And don't forget that directory also has a review system, so you can go over there and tell all tell everybody what you think of your favorite shows. And links, once again, are all going to be in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. And
Nice.